Hi, Veronica. How are you today?
I am great, thank you.
So, today on Big Bollywood Buffs, we have a very special guest who is Veronica Mehta. She's a pop icon from the early 2000s and she's still doing a lot of work with her new singles. Her new single has just come out. She's going to tell us a lot about her career and upcoming projects. Hello, Veronica. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to Big Bollywood Buffs.
Thank you.
So, first of all, I'd like to mention to our viewers that we've met a couple of times, but the first time I met you was actually back in my hometown in Gran Canaria, where you had come for a Diwali function to perform. And it just brings back so many memories. Like last year when I met you in the summer, I just got this flashback, and I was like, wow, I can't believe that I met Veronica after so many years because like I literally like as a teenager, I used to listen to your songs all the time. Hum Tum, Mere Dil Vich, and of course your song from Kya Kule Hum as well, Dil Mera. I love all these songs, and till date they're so relevant. So how do you feel, when people come up to you and they remember you for a particular song, and it's a great feeling, right?
It's an amazing feeling. And you know what I love when I speak to people is everyone has their own story.
Yeah.
Someone will say, you know what, I was going through such a hard time with this
Yeah.
guy, and then I heard this song and it made me feel so good. Or I was going through uni,
Yeah.
or, maybe I lost somebody and you really got me through.
Yeah.
And so I just love hearing the stories about, what that means to people.
Yeah.
Because obviously it was a great time for me.
Yes.
The song, it was just incredible. So I love to hear that from others.
And going back to your childhood days or when you were growing up, I mean, did you always know that you wanted to become a singer?
So I used to love, I was a young girl. I would
Yeah.
like stand in front of the mirror, get my hairbrush, just sing in front of the mirror, sing, dance, like anything to do with music and performing entertainment.
Sure.
I loved it. It made me come alive.
Okay.
And I think that switch when you realize this is not just going to be a hobby. I want to do this. It came at a very young age for me. And I've been very fortunate to have lived that dream.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true, and that's a great message for our viewers because you should always follow your dreams, your passion. A lot of people are in the wrong profession, and they don't actually get to do what they want in life. So it's a blessing, actually.
Yes.
And I also wanted to ask you. So obviously you started singing, and then there was this whole group of singers that you were collaborating a lot with Rishi Rich. I mean, you still are, but with Jay Sean and Jagidi. And all these songs that became so popular. I mean, how did you guys meet? And were you guys friends from before, or?
So Rishi and I met when we were like teenagers.
Oh, okay.
And we actually started our own like collaborative like project, and we were called VR1 back in the day. And we actually started doing R&B music. That was our love. That was our passion. So we started that circuit, in the clubs, on the urban scene. We had records out, record deals and stuff. But that sound evolved with the whole Punjabi, the Hindi, the Bollywood.
Yeah.
And we met Juggy first. Yeah, we
Okay.
met Juggy first, and then we met Jay. And it just became this, collaborative team,
Course,
the Rishi
yeah.
Rich project. And it was great.
Amazing. And I think all of you have done so well for yourselves. But I mean, Jay Sean, like I remember when I met him for the first time when he came to Spain, all the girls were crazy about him, even at uni. Until date, now obviously he's doing really well for himself in the States. Can we expect you doing another, maybe like a duet with him anytime soon? At some point?
Yeah, no, I don't see why not. I mean,
Yeah.
we still talk, and
Yeah.
we see each other at shows and things like
great,
that. Obviously, he's
yeah.
on the other side of the
the
world,
world, yeah.
but it's never like, oh, you can't do
Yeah.
something again. It's just
Yeah.
everyone's got their own busy schedules and
course,
their own
yeah.
plans and whatever they're doing. But if our path leads back to collaborating again, then definitely will happen.
Now, two of my favorite songs, as I mentioned earlier, are first of all Mere Dil Vich, Hum Tum. It's such an iconic film. It just re-released in India, a couple of days ago, and I think that sort of era was like pop Indian music. You guys were the ones who, like yourself, Rishi Rich, like, Jagadi, you introduced this pop music in Hindi movies, because up until that point, no one had ever heard a song like Mere Dil Vich, or a song like Dil Mera, from Kya Kool Hai Hum.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? And what was the response initially? Did you expect it to be like so good and sort of overwhelming?
I think like the sound has always been within us because I think we're very lucky to be the pioneers of that sound, bringing those elements from our younger generation. That's what we used to listen to. Like I said, the pop, the R&B, the hip hop, the Bollywood, the Indian classical. Fusing all those sounds, and being young kids coming from London, and then getting the opportunity to have a song in Bollywood, and then it blowing up the way it did. I think that was just so amazing, and it did shape the way the music, the future of music kind of went. So we're just so lucky to have that chance.
Of course. And till date, I'm sure when you perform at gigs or events or private functions, people expect you to sing those songs, right? Because they're so popular.
Yes, definitely, yes.
So apart from that, I wanted to talk a bit about your journey, because I think it's really inspiring to all the women out there who are listening and watching, this interview on our channel. So you obviously did really, really well at the beginning of your career, and then you went through a phase where, unfortunately, you were heavily pregnant, and then you were diagnosed with breast cancer, right? So that must have been a really tough time for yourself and your family. I know you had that family support, but honestly, like, huge respect to you, because you've come out of it like as a very strong person who's dealt with it, and you've come really far in life. But is there anything in particular, like any advice or anything you'd like to share about your journey, which could be an inspiration to all the women out there?
Yes, I think, going through something like cancer is never easy.
Yeah.
And it's the last thing that you ever expect that you would go through, as a person. But I think when I, went through it, it was by far the hardest thing I'd ever experienced in my life. And not knowing whether you're going to live or die, what's going to happen. I had three young children. So, my whole world got turned upside down. You have to be strong, and it's so easy for people to say be strong when you feel so weak physically, because the chemotherapy, every single way it attacks you in the most horrific way. So I think my best advice for anyone going through it, first, is always check yourself. Always check. It's so important. I was young, and the doctor said, there's no way it could be cancer because you're too young.
Yeah.
That's not true. It happens. It's a statistic, and it can happen in young people. So always check yourself. And the other stigma that we need to, eradicate is that breast cancer happens to men as well. So everyone should always check themselves. Any problem, always go to the doctor, be persistent. And if you are going through that horrific journey, just take one day at a time. And eventually you will get to the other side, and hopefully, God willing, everything will be okay.
Yeah, and as you rightly said, it happens to men as well, and it's a common stereotype that everyone thinks it only happens to women.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. So how long did it actually take you to recover from that? And then I think it changes your whole perspective towards life as well. Your priorities change. Health becomes your priority, your family, your kids. So at that point, did you feel like you had to take a bit of a break from your, career as an artist?
Even though I did still have music coming out at the time, my public profile I kind of kept back because I didn't feel like I was ready to be able to deal with it. But once I felt a bit stronger, then I wanted to talk about my journey, and I teamed up with Cancer Research because I felt like it was so important, and that I could send that important message to women. There's a massive stigma attached with especially elderly women in our community not going for their checkups. And I wanted to them, just reach out and say, no, it's safe, it's fine. You could save your life. And encourage all generations, support them and be that support to
Yeah,
one another. Let's talk about it. And it's not easier, but it just makes it easier to know that you're not alone,
yeah.
basically.
And you, as you said, you've come up with a lot of initiatives to support Cancer Research UK so that they
Yeah.
can actually, invest in however a possible way to do more research to stop this from happening. But I mean, obviously, you can't really stop it, but just to kind of like raise more awareness.
Yeah, I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Raising the awareness, going for your checkups, don't miss your appointments. If you miss it, make sure you rebook it. It's that whole thing about, I don't
Yeah.
want to feel embarrassed, having my body checked, especially like by a guy, like the male consultants that, it can be quite intimidating.
Yeah.
And I remember when I had my checkup, I came out and I was crying my eyes out. But in fact, that doctor saved my life. So you have to look at it in a different way.
Yeah. And also, as a public person, did you feel that you had that kind of responsibility towards your fans and people supporting you? Or was it more sort of like something you wanted to do on a personal level, like on a humanitarian level, just a human level to help people?
I knew that I had that ability to make a difference, and having that profile just gave me that elevation to be able to get that message out. And I just felt like, even though it's so close to home and it can be very difficult, embarrassing, it's hard to talk about something so personal, especially when it's such a devastating, thing to go through.
Of course,
But yeah, I just felt like I had to do something.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you did, and thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure, like a lot of women out there, as you said, sometimes feel embarrassed or don't even go for checkups that often, and especially like young men and women who think their health is okay and they never like take it seriously enough. And I think in today's day and age, like everyone is just so busy in their lives, especially like when you live in London. London life is really hectic. And sometimes we ignore our own health and don't prioritize it.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that. Now let's talk about your new single that's come out. So Pia,
Yes.
it's a great word, because actually like it means beloved, right?
Exactly,
And
yeah.
in Hindi, and there's a lot of songs with that name, but your song is quite different to anything we've seen before, like any like sort of Hindi song that we've heard before. So you've collaborated with DJ Swami as well. We heard the single recently, and tell us a bit about the experience of recording and shooting that.
I mean, everybody says, "Oh, wow, it's so different," but I love it.
Yeah.
And what's so nice is that the younger generation really love it. And I didn't quite expect that response, because I thought it's quite a mature song. I felt like, like the more elderly crowd would, love
course,
it.
yeah.
And, the younger generation have been just messaging me and saying, I love it, it's on repeat and stuff. And that really makes me feel so happy, because it's that sound, bringing that pop, R&B, soul sound, infusing it again with that whole Bollywood, Hindi, sophisticated classical sound, and bringing those elements in. It was amazing to work with DJ Swami. I mean, he's worked with people like Shania Twain, so he's just a different caliber of producer. So it was amazing to work with him. And obviously Rafaqat Ali Khan, he's a legend in himself, and bringing that classical element to the song. So it was great. And shooting the video was so much fun. So yeah, if anyone hasn't seen it, go and check it out.
Happen?
It happened in London, in West London.
Okay.
In a studio in West London. So we spent the day there filming, and we went for a different kind of vibe for the video, which was a bit behind the scenes, studio based. People can see, us kind of in our element, like writing and singing, being in a booth, that whole studio kind of vibe. So it was good.
No, honestly, as you said, it's you probably weren't expecting the younger crowd to vibe to it. But sometimes, as they say, expect the unexpected, and you got such a great response, which is amazing.